Well, damn, that got me hyped. Seriously, I knew FF16 is expected to be a good game with the man himself, Naoki Yoshida, as the producer and others like the combat designer from Devil May Cry 5. It is no secret that this game is at least going to be fun. No one can deny that. But after seeing the state of play showing off some of the combat in a pretty spectacular fashion, the stunning icon versus icon boss battles, a return to the medieval style world and more, I'm pretty confident this game is going to be a home run for Square. There are a few things I'm sure people are going to point out, like in the design, that kind of feels stuck in the past, and I'm going to talk about those later. But overall, I cannot wait to try this game out on June 22nd. What's going on, everyone? Tallen here, 59 Direct, and subscribe to the channel so that I can eat dinner tonight. The fridge is pretty empty. If you enjoy these types of videos or enjoy coverage of Final Fantasy and other RPG games, consider leaving a like and a comment, especially that comment. It actually helps us out a lot in giving us good feedback. If you dislike the video, we encourage you to leave a dislike, and again, comment down below, let us know your thoughts. Okay, let's waste no time and talk about this state of play. If you have not watched the state of play, I actually highly recommend it. Sony and Square showed off a lot for this game. From the combat we mentioned beforehand in the intro, to the iconic boss battles that we're going to see all in real time, this action RPG is shaping up to be pretty cool. And yes, this is actually mainly an action RPG, all in real time, which I'm sure to some old school fans of the original first 6 Final Fantasy games might not like this. However, as stated by Yoshida himself in an interview actually with Skillup, link in the top there and in the pinned comments, he felt that it was time for Final Fantasy to evolve with the times. Plus, notice how he does not actually say JRPG. This is due to him and many others here in Japan not liking that term that was made from the West. And they're hoping that with the games like Final Fantasy VII Remake and 16 here shortly releasing, that it will show the world that Final Fantasy can evolve, and that if you hear the word JRPG or RPG coming from Japan, that they're not all of the same game. Basically, he doesn't want the word RPG and Japan to mean the same game no matter what for years to come. I mean, to me personally, this kind of makes sense. Final Fantasy VII Remake did this, and it was received overwhelmingly positive. I mean, the reviews speak for itself. Plus, 16 is going back to its roots story-wise with the era of the game, kind of the medieval, knightish looking style, but with an updated coat of paint and everything. So I feel this is going to be a good mix of the new and the old. First, let's talk about the combat. It has been reported multiple times already that they brought on Devil May Cry 5's combat director, Ryota Suzuki. Talk to anyone who has played Devil May Cry 5, and it's almost unanimous that the combat alone is the best of the best in the gaming landscape. I mean, did you see that trailer? It is awesome. From all of the flashy combat that we would expect from something like this, to all of the cool magic attacks and everything, to the skill tree that they showed off, the combat alone is going to make it worth that price tag for me personally. I know to some not so much, they prefer the story and everything, which is totally fine. This is a single player game, so it's going to have that. But man, that combat is going to be fun. As someone who personally loves the Final Fantasy VII Remake combats, I'm definitely excited for this as well. While it's a little different from the Final Fantasy VII Remake combat that we'll get into a little bit more details here in a second, overall, I'm definitely impressed and definitely super hyped for this. One thing that they did note in the state of play, however, though, is that when it comes to having your companions with you, you can't actually control them like you've been able to do in past games or, more recently, like in Final Fantasy VII Remake. If you remember from that game, you could actually, in real time, switch between characters to not only use their attacks, but use magic and other abilities to actually help out your entire team. They have stated in this game, however, we are only going to be controlling Clive, the main character of this game. So while that might not be the best thing for it, and we'll have to wait and see if it makes sense in the context of said game, it should still be pretty fun. One thing that they did mention, however, though, is that even though we can't control our allies, there is one ally we can give commands to help us out along our journeys. He's actually with us the entire game for the most part, and it's our faithful companion, our wolf. I mean, look at that fluffy boy. A man and his dog. Good times. You know the game's gonna be awesome just because of that. Overall, I don't see it being too much of an issue that we can't really control our companions, since, again, the main gameplay loop is gonna be that of basically Devil May Cry 5, but with a Final Fantasy shine on it. Which, hey, if it worked there, I'm sure it can work here as well. Only time will tell, but overall, I'm actually pretty excited for it. Next thing the state of play really kind of got to show us a little bit was the world and the art. This takes place in an open world type of map, but we can access that map at any time and travel to any place that we want to. Also, as we progress through the story, we're going to unlock check marks that we'll be able to instantly transport there, but at the same time, we can also have different mounts like chocobos, and we can also walk and run to pretty much anywhere that we can see. There'll probably be some loading gates and everything like that, but overall, it's a kind of what you'd expect from this type of game. I must say though, the world of Valistia, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly there, it looks absolutely amazing. From open landscapes to the sea, to the caves, to the volcanoes, you name it, this is looking amazing artistic wise. I mean, I don't think anyone was really going to be worried about that. I mean, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Final Fantasy 15, and other games in the series have all looked amazing when it comes to the landscapes and the areas that we visit. It'll be interesting to see how the world is populated though, in terms of when you're walking around and trying to fight enemies and everything. Kind of gave me a Final Fantasy 15 feel, which I'm a little worried about, but you know, again, I'll wait to judge and see when the game actually releases. But overall, the world is looking absolutely stunning. One of the interesting parts to me personally is actually our main character this time around, Clive. While he may look like your typical Final Fantasy character from the early games, we actually get to play during 3 points of his life: his teenage years, his 20s, and finally his 30s. That combined again with the icon versus icon battles, where he gets to surpass his limits and basically, well, become a giant 10-foot monster or a phoenix or whatever else they're going to show us eventually. It's looking pretty crazy, not gonna lie. Well, I'll have to wait and see what kind of character he's going to be, because again, from the very limited trailers that we've seen when it comes to this character, he kind of just seems like you're kind of regular protagonist from a Final Fantasy game. So if you like that, you're gonna love this. If you don't like that, then he might not vibe with you, but again, we'll have to wait and see. I watched this state of play twice actually. I watched it once in Japanese and once in English, and I gotta say, both the English and the Japanese voice actors are doing an amazing job. I think regardless of what you prefer, it's going to be pretty cool. Now, I do want to bring up a couple of concerns that I have when it comes to this game. One of them first being the kind of hub world that we have where we get side quests and such. At one moment in the trailer, they actually showed us selecting a side quest where we go and fight this basic mini boss. But unfortunately, it kind of gave me some Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core vibes, where basically after you selected it, it just dropped you into the world and it looked like it was just barred off from the rest of the area. And it's just like, hey, walk like 10 steps in front of you and here's the mini boss. Now, obviously, I know it's a state of play. They could easily just simply have cut that, you know, not to show what happened to actually get there. Maybe there's some extra enemies we fight or some cool areas or something. I really hope they're not doing what Crisis Core did, where it's select mini side quest, fight boss, and that's it. Rinse and repeat for like 50 plus. And you think I'm joking about that 50 plus? Go play Crisis Core. That's probably one of the things that definitely did not age well with that game. Fun game, but it did not age well, especially in 2023. Another part that I'm kind of concerned about is traversing the world. While we can bring up the map anytime and transport to different areas, you can also, again, use mounts and run around in the world. However, parts of it definitely look a little barren, kind of similar to Final Fantasy 15. So unless there are things that are going to randomly appear or randomly generated, I'm a little worried that the world's gonna be pretty boring to explore. And I feel like that might be one thing that Final Fantasy is still kind of stuck in the past, because it definitely feels like some of the older games when it comes to that type of thing. Again, we'll have to wait and see when we actually get to play the game and everything like that. And if there are previews out there already that I haven't seen and they've already talked about that, and maybe this is a non-issue, then awesome. And I have nothing to worry about. But again, it's just something I noticed when watching the trailers and watching this state of play. Final thing I'm going to bring up real quick is the story. I've seen a lot of people concerned that maybe they need to go back and play the first 6 Final Fantasy games to even understand the story. And according to the developers and the producers, that doesn't seem to be the case. I can tell you right now, I have not played any of those Final Fantasy games in a long time. I think the last game I played was Final Fantasy 4 or something like that. I don't even remember. It's been that long. So if you're worried about the whole story and maybe understanding it, doesn't seem like it's going to be an issue. So again, we'll have to wait and see, but overall, the story should be somewhat interesting. I'm hoping at least. I don't know much about the story. I haven't really paid attention to the story trailers or anything that showed up online in articles or anything. I'm trying to just go in a little bit blind when it comes to this. So it'll be interesting to see if this is something that hardcore players are going to love, or if hardcore players are going to hate, or casual players, or anything in between. We'll have to wait and see. So overall, the story looks interesting, but we'll have to wait and see when it comes to anything spoiler, because again, they're not going to release anything that is spoiler territory. Overall, this state of play was definitely fun to watch. I liked that even though they were talking about certain things, they kind of just let the game speak for itself, especially with the combat. Again, I know combat can't make a game only, and that you need to have more than just that. You got to have some characters, you gotta have a fun story, world, etc. But man, something about that combat combined with the Devil May Cry feel of it, and the Final Fantasy flashiness with the magic and everything. It's something I'm definitely looking forward to. Again, as someone who loves Final Fantasy VII Remake and its combat, this I'm definitely looking forward to playing. Again, we'll be able to play this on PlayStation 5 on June 22nd. The PC version of this game is releasing sometime, but I feel like it probably won't hit until either late 2023 or maybe even potentially 2024. Yoshida himself has come out and saying that they want to make the best experience they can and they need more time with the PC port. This makes sense as the guy who basically heads Final Fantasy 14, and I mean, look at how that game originally was compared to how it is now. So it makes sense. But I want to know your thoughts down below in the comments. What do you personally think of Final Fantasy 16? Are you excited to try this game out? Do you think the story is going to be good? Are you interested in the characters, the world? Do you have any concerns that I didn't bring up? Or are you super excited for the combat? Let me know all your thoughts down below. And again, hopefully this has eventually come to Xbox. We made an entire video about why we think Square and Xbox just particularly don't work well together. And no, I'm sorry, I don't think it's just simply that Sony pays them so much money. Microsoft has way more money. Check out our full video. We go into a deep dive on why we think that is. But a lot of it just has to do simply with culture and in working here and the people who are in charge at Square. Maybe things will change, hopefully, and it can come to Xbox eventually. We'll have to wait and find out. So I did want to mention that though before we sign off here, because I'm sure some people are going to be like, why is it not on Xbox? A lot of it just comes down to culture. But again, check out our video here if you want to know more. Anyway, like I say before, guys, if you enjoyed the video, leave a comment down below and leave a like. If you dislike the video, then leave a dislike and comment down below on how we can make these kind of videos better. Not much of a script today, but overall, I wanted to talk about this since it is looking to be a pretty cool game. And I am super hyped. Again, everyone, I'm Tallen with 59 Direct. Thank you so much for everyone that stopped by. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we can't wait to see you guys all in the next one. Johnny.